Okay, here in this Tobacco University video, we're going to be looking at the crime scene search methods. We have a couple pictured here to give you a general idea of the pattern you should be going through, but we're going to look at this in a little bit more detail. So first off, when conducting a search, the whole point of conducting the search is for evidence. This must be thorough and systematic. You do not want to make assumptions. You want to consider any pertinent evidence and do not overlook little details, because failure to do so can lead to accusations and negligence or covering up evidence. So we don't want to if we look up here, we don't want to assume there's just 3, because if we look on kind of the other side over here, it looks like there's 4. We want to be trying to impartial, but also thorough, systematic, and detail-oriented. Now, field evidence technicians are the person responsible for conducting the evidence search. They're mainly looking for fingerprints, footprints, tool marks, hairs, fibers, and also possible trace evidence carriers as well. This should also be photographed in the crime scene, documented, because this is a really important part, and especially depending on the scene. This searching for evidence is a critical part for any scene. Now, before the search can even begin, before we even get to that stage of looking for that evidence, we want to ensure this scene is controlled. This also includes briefing all searchers involved, establish the speed and areas of responsibility so everyone kind of has a game plan going in, or hopefully a limited number of people, but so even those that are in there, so no one interferes with anyone else's area in their searching. You want to determine a starting point. You want to establish a command post. You want to maintain communication between all people involved. Just to ensure if anything comes up that everyone is aware. Want to rotate people through areas to ensure more than one person looks at each area to reduce the chance that a detail is missed. Everyone's going to probably miss some little detail. We don't want to have a ton of people going in there, but having someone go through and do a second sweep of an area is definitely well advised. Now, these search patterns, so exactly how you're going to search a room, well, there's something called a spiral search method, and this starts at an outer point and gradually moves toward the center. Or it could start at an inner point and move outward from that center, as we kind of see the images here. So depending on the room, depending on the area, depending on the scene, may influence what type of search method you use, but this is one example, and this is called a spiral search here. Now, moving on from a spiral search, we also have a grid method. So the grid method scene is divided into grid, and each grid is segmented in its search, just as the name implies. You have this kind of very boxy-like look, and you're searching and focusing on those different boxes within that overall grid. Then we get to a line search, which is crime scene divided into strips, and each strip is searched. Again, this could be based on limiting factors, but this is just another search pattern that can be used, line or parallel search here. Then we get into what we call a zone search, and this is a quadrant or zone search. Kind of has similar properties to the grid method, but in this case, the scene is divided into quadrants, and each quadrant is searched, so it's a little bit broader based here. This is, again, where important documenting where north is involved to know where the zones are actually located in a room and what evidence might be found in those areas, or how that room might be set up can influence whether this one is selected. Those search pattern selections, so as I said, those are the general overview, but how we actually go about selecting or determining which one we're going to use is important. And that can come down to the size, type of location of the area. Is it an indoor location or is it an outdoor location? How big is it if it's an indoor compared to an outdoor? There are a lot of trees in the outdoors, an open park, things to consider. Also, the personnel and the equipment. How many people do you have? What equipment is needed and what do you have access to? We all like to have the ideal amount, but a lot of times we're limited and restricted, so that's going to influence what search we may select. The type of crime that was committed, if we can establish that or have an idea of that early on, this can impact the type of evidence that's going to be collected, and that can also influence what pattern you choose so you can be most effective. Now, evidence from the victim themselves. Well, this may be collected by a medical examiner. Evidence often includes from the actual victim would be fiber from their clothing, hair from their head and pubic areas, blood, hand swabs for gunpowder if that was suspected to be part of the crime, and also photographs. So this is a lot of information just from the victim, never mind the surrounding area as well. So just keep these in mind when we're trying to go through and establish and search a crime scene to be effective and efficient, because it is only a one-time shot at getting that evidence undisturbed.